Do you know how one of America's most secure prisons was defeated in just a few minutes? 7 men, serving massive sentences, with nothing left to lose, years of planning, for a few moments of freedom, and an ending none of them expected. This is the story of an escape that was never supposed to happen. This is the John B. Connolly Prison in Texas, and today is December 13, 2000. This prison is not an ordinary prison. It is one of America's maximum security prisons. Among the inmates here, there are 7 people who are more dangerous than all the others. These 7 are planning to escape from this maximum security prison. Before anything else, let's get to know these 7 people. The leader of all of them is a man named George Rivas. George Rivas was sentenced to 270 years in prison for theft, kidnapping, and murder, meaning there is no way out for him. Another one of them is Joseph Garcia. He was sentenced to life in prison for killing a woman in the street. The next one is Randy Halprin, the most dangerous of them all. His crime was brutally beating a 2- or 3-year-old child, and for that, he received 30 years in prison. The next one is Larry P. His crime was rape, and he was sentenced to 50 years. You should know, even raising your hand against someone or even slapping someone is considered a serious crime in America. Unless the victim gives consent, the attacker must go to prison. That's why in movies and videos you often see 2 Americans standing face to face insulting each other, but rarely actually fighting. Patrick Murphy committed the same kind of crime that he severely beat someone, and the victim did not forgive him. He was also sentenced to 50 years in prison. Another member of this violent group's Donald Newberry. He entered a bank armed, planning to steal money and escape, but he was arrested and received 30 years in prison. The last member of the group's Michael Rodriguez. His crime was hiring a hitman to kill his wife. Before the murder could happen, the plan was exposed, and for that he received 99 years. They reduced it by 1 year, so it wouldn't be a full 100. These 7 men had been together in prison for years, and together, they decided to get out. From morning till night they worked on this plan, and no one knew how long they had been preparing for the escape. In any case, after years of planning together, they finally carried it out. On December 13, 2000, today. Let's go inside the prison and see what happens. It's 11 a.m. 5 of the mayor cleaning the floor of the library. This is exactly when the lunch bell should ring. When the bell rings, the guards tell them, stop working and go to lunch. They reply, there's just a little left, let us finish, then we'll go. The guards agree. 2 guards stay behind, the rest go to lunch. At that moment, Rivas turns to one of the guards and says, please open the supply room, I need cleaning solution. The guard opens the door, and suddenly, all 5 prisoners attack the 2 guards. They tie their hands and feet, gag them, strip them of their clothes. 2 of the prisoners put on the guards' uniforms. They take the key ring from one of the guards. With those keys they can enter the locker room. All the other guards are at lunch, so they all go into the locker room, put on guard uniforms, grab tools mainly used for cutting, like metal saws and heavy cutters. If any other prisoners entered, they were tied up as well and thrown next to the guards. They didn't want noise. They didn't want delays. The uniforms they were wearing were only valid inside the prison. To leave the prison, they would normally have to pass several checkpoints. With these uniforms, they couldn't. That's why this escape worked. These 7 men had studied everything. They knew how the prison worked. They controlled its pulse. 2 of them go to the first checkpoint and say, we need to go outside to install a camera. The guards see 2 officers requesting to leave. They call the control room, we need to install a camera. The answer comes back, yes, let them go. While this is happening, Randy Halpern, who stayed inside, rushes to a watchtower. He knew the tower was full of weapons. He climbs up, knocks the guard unconscious, and suddenly, a large arsenal is in his hands. From the tower he takes 3 weapons. A 12-gauge shotgun, a Smith & Wesson Magnum, and an AR-15. From this moment on, these 7 men become far more dangerous. Point 2 are now outside. One is in the watchtower. The one in the tower also has access to the main gate controls. There is a large pickup truck inside the prison. The 4 inside know where the keys are. They start the truck from above. The gate is opened. The man from the tower runs down, jumps into the truck with the weapons. The 2 outside jump in too, and they drive away. Everything was so well planned that it took more than 10 minutes for the prison to even realize anyone had escaped. That's what planning does. Years of planning, executed in minutes. Nearby police stations are alerted. 7 inmates have escaped in a pickup truck, armed with dangerous weapons. They are extremely dangerous. They have a vehicle, they have guns, but they have no money. So they do what they know best. They enter an electronics store called Radio Shack. They empty the cash register, and rob the customers as well. They steal powerful walkie-talkies to listen to police communications. They abandon the prison truck, steal another pickup, and head toward Dallas, Texas. Usually escapees head south, toward Mexico. But they plan this too. They go north, to confuse the police. It takes them 11 days to reach Dallas. You might ask, why not use the highway? Because on highways they would be caught. They use back roads, slow, careful. The money runs out again. They enter a supermarket, rob it. Someone outside sees them enter with multiple weapons. He calls the police. An officer named Hawkins is nearby. He receives the calendar, arrives within 3 minutes. He thinks it's a simple robbery, a young man robbing a store, unaware. He walks inside and shouts, "Hands up!" They pretend to comply, then open fire. 11 bullets hit him. He dies on the spot. The death of Officer Hawkins shocks all of Texas. He had a 5-year-old son, and it was one day before Christmas. They leave the supermarket, abandon their vehicle, steal a large van from the parking lot, and drive away. In Dallas, they buy civilian clothes. On Christmas Day, the very next day, they go to church, not to rob it, but because they are religious. But unfortunately for them, a woman in the church recognizes them. She had seen their photos in the news and newspapers. All 7, sitting together, without families. She calls the police. Police say, "Do nothing, just leave if you can." The police arrive under cover. No sirens, no confrontation. They wait for them to exit the church. The 7 leave, get into their vehicle. Police follow, from a distance. They enter a large parking lot belonging to a supermarket and stop in a corner. Police watch from afar. 3 of them get out, approach a parked Jeep. They start it, and steal it. They decide to split up to reduce the threat. Police alert road units. The 3 in the Jeep are stopped and arrested easily. They had no weapons. 4 remain in the van. 2 get out, walk toward a nearby park. The van drives off. Some police follow the van, others chase the 2 on foot. The 2 in the park are quickly surrounded. 1 of them pulls out a Magnum and commits suicide. The other is arrested. The 2 in the van manage to lose the police. They hide in a motel. They stay hidden for 23 days. Then one of them uses a public phone, calls the police, and says, "We will surrender if you let us speak to reporters." The police agreed in front of the reporters. They only complain about the prison system. They say the people who run this system are bigger killers than us. George Rivas tells reporters, they gave me 99 years for $68. He had entered a bank with a gun, but never got the money. In Texas, the death penalty exists. The Texas Supreme Court sentences the remaining 6 to execution. Execution in Texas is done by lethal injection. A poison enters the body, and it takes only minutes, years of planning, only to reach death faster. If they had stayed in prison, at least they would be alive. In the end, this story is not really about escape. It is about choices. 7 men spent years planning every second of their freedom, but never planned what kind of people they wanted to be. They escaped walls, but never escaped violence. They escaped guards, but never escaped themselves. Every step forward only pushed them closer to an ending they could not avoid. The system failed them in many ways, but their decisions finished the story. Years of patience, destroyed in moments of anger, and in the end, the prison they feared most was not made of steel or concrete. It was the life they built, one violent choice at a time. Some doors close loudly, with alarms and sirens, others close quietly, with regret, and once they close, there is no key that can open them again.